going on, everybody? Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This is the Dukes of Gaming podcast coming at you with another episode. It's going to be a little less formal this week. We're going to do kind of a Pokemon deep dive. And you know I can't do it without my Pokemon skeptic. We have the Duke of Education. What's going on, Alfredo?
Hello, I am, just honored to be on this Pokemon-centric pod, which obviously everyone knows I'm so ecstatic about and so excited about for the Pokemon franchise as a whole. But yeah, great to be here.
I sense the sarcasm from here. And then, of course, we have our Pokemon enthusiast,
Pokemon! Daddy Pokemon!
the Duke of Nostalgia himself. How are you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing great.
So we've all been playing a good amount of Pokemon. Let's get kind of a status update. First off, what badge are you, Taylor, right now?
Second badge.
Second badge.
I've been playing it slowly, yeah.
So
I am on my 7th badge.
7th. Whew. And I'm on my 4th. So we kind of have a wide spectrum. You know, we've all kind of put in enough time, I feel, to kind of give some, early impressions or deep impressions for you, Alfredo. First question I have for everybody, have they been playing this as a handheld game or a dock game or kind of in between?
I've been docked. I've been purely docked.
For
Me
me,
too.
I am playing this exclusively handheld because I cannot play any Switch games in dock mode. So I never play any game, whether it be Zelda, Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart. Never.
Why not?
You can't?
It's a sin. I can't. I don't know. It's just I like my Nintendo consoles to be handheld. DS was a handheld SP, handheld Game Boy Color. Everything up to now has been handheld. So now that I have the option to do it, I just never actually want to. That's what my beautiful PS5 is for. My Xbox Series S that I now have. That's what those are for. But I'll keep the Nintendo regulated to the handheld version.
Fair enough. That's as good of a reason I've heard.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Pokemon, this is, for me just personally, this is my first Pokemon game that I've been into since, I'd like to say, Sun and Moon. And even then, I wasn't into that per se. I just played that like when I could, and I eventually I beat it. But I couldn't say I was super invested in it.
Did you skip Sword and Shield?
Yeah. I played maybe an hour of it because somebody let me borrow it. And yeah, never went back. Never wanted it.
Got ya.
And this is the first Pokemon game I have given the time of day to in a very long time. And I am really liking this game, y'all. Like, I really, really like this game.
Okay,
now, is it going to be my
question,
game
though.
of the year? No, but it's up there.
First question for both of you guys, though. Did
Sure.
you guys play, since these are technically remakes, did you guys play the originals?
I did not.
I did.
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I'm
I'm
gonna be
basing this
asking
off
later.
of, this is all new for me. This is like basically a brand new Pokemon game for me.
And that brings up like an interesting point of where I am in my head. Because, okay, so the reason I bought this game, and I was actually hesitant to buy it at first. I was like a little slow to it. I was thinking of buying it last week. I just didn't have the time. I've been busy. So I went to Thanksgiving with my family, and my younger sister mentioned to me that all of her friends right now, and she's in college, all of her friends are playing it. Every single one. She said, everyone gets together, their boyfriends, their girlfriends, everyone all day, every day brings up Pokemon. And I'm like, what?
You're in college?
In college.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking she's like a 4th grader.
Right. So I was like, okay, I'll check it out. Because when I first played it, I was in middle school, just into middle school, and it was a bad time to be a Pokemon fan.
Now it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. I had been a Pokemon fan when it came out. Trading cards specifically, because my dad got a deal with Wizards of the Coast to get some free cards. Loved those. Got into the games a little bit later, and then kept going. And then middle school comes around and I start to understand like social interactions, and I'm like, oh, a lot of these people, I got long hair, they think I'm
No
a
one wants to
loser.
hear about your Gyarados.
No one wants to hear about my game. So I played them, but I kind of pulled back. But then I kind of fit into a friend group that played a lot of video games, and they really liked Pokemon. So I played them with friends. That said, those aren't times of my life that I'm super happy about. I did a lot of stupid things. I did a lot of mean things. I got bullied a lot. I was depressed a lot. A lot of bad things happened because it was middle school. It was middle school. That's just what middle school is here in the U.S. It's just a bad time for everyone.
Unfortunately.
To our international listeners, you just got a sneak peek into middle school in the U.S.
Yeah, it's a horrendous time. So coming back and playing it again, I didn't remember a lot of it because a lot of it was interaction with other people, and we kind of played through the games together. And it's a lot of stuff I've repressed anyway. So playing it again, I'm slowly remembering more and more about the games, but I'm like, I'm glad I'm playing them like this because I don't know if I could play them on the DS. I don't know if I could go back and play those games on the DS. The artistic upgrades, the animations, the more modern speeds, the load speeds. I just want to say this real quick. The loading speeds in between like encountering a Pokemon in the grass and battling it are the fastest they've been in Pokemon ever. Speedrunner beat the game in 50 minutes. Of course, there's some glitches to get through areas pretty quickly, but just in general, all those little cut times make engaging into the game easier. Like the last Pokemon game, it felt like hours between like starting the game and getting to the first gym because there's just so much dialogue. Even if it's on fast text speed, it's just so slow, so sluggish. They hold your hands. You're like, oh, you gotta come with us. This game just sort of throws you in. It gives you a couple little tutorials, then you're done, and each little battle loads like this and that. It's so quick, and it's much improved over the original DS games in technical aspects, at least. Still glitchy. It's still a glitchy mess. But I think that's kind of some of the charm I have with this game is just little tiny glitches. I've noticed, I don't know if any of you have noticed, but because I've played them all, sister. I've played Johto, Kanto, Hoenn, Kanto again. I've played them all. This is something I've noticed is the animations for some of the Pokemon moves don't load right on their first use. Which has caused me many minutes of humor. Specifically, the moves. There's a move called Smackdown that Geodude and Onix and Rock types.
Yep.
And the first time a Pokemon uses it against you, it kind of glitches out the game, and it just sort of like there's like a sound effect, and it comes back to like the battle screen. And then the second time it uses it, it actually animates like a Pokemon getting knocked out of the sky onto the ground. So it's little tiny things that are little buggy, but I do like it.
I haven't used that move yet.
Yeah, I seen the glitch you're talking about.
Yeah,
it happened to me. I literally used it because I used Geodude with it and did it. And I was like, oh, okay.
What's going
I
on?
was like, that is. I mean, look, it was funny. It was. It didn't take away from the game. It didn't cut my game off. So
Right.
it could be worse.
Sure, it's totally intended.
Yeah.
So you overall have had a good time so far.
So far, I've really enjoyed it.
How many hours have you put into it? Even though you're on the second gym, I assume you put in a lot more since you're streaming it, right?
Yeah, I'd say I've put in I put in 5 hours last night and 3 today. So
okay.
Yeah.
I put in probably like maybe 10 hours.
I'm probably around 15, maybe 17, maybe
so
somewhere around
we're
there.
probably speaking like as far as if you're not going for post game content, like 20-hour game it seems like.
Yeah.
So average, kind of on the shorter side for an RPG, but that's kind of what we come to expect from Pokemon.
Yeah.
Definitely longer than I remember it being, because when I'm thinking about even Sword and Shield, I feel like it didn't take me as long as it's taking me to get through the actual storyline of this game. Like, there seems to be a lot more steps in between other than just, hey, go from gym to gym to gym. Like, this game actually has more things involving Team Galactic, which is this game's version of Team Rocket. They're much more integral to the story, and it's not just you becoming the, defeating the Pokemon champion. Like, there's intertwining things, which is a lot more interesting than just the standard Pokemon story. So I'm definitely enjoying that. And it also seems like the dungeons are a lot more involved and longer than it was in Sword and Shield as well.
Yeah.
I would say Diamond, Pearl, Platinum are peak dungeon design for Pokemon. Because dungeons have never been a big part, even though they're a big part of RPGs, they've never been huge in Pokemon games. They had a lot in Red and Blue, but they were slow and confusing. And,
I hated those parts. Well, all the Zubats and the
with the random encounters, the dungeons in Red and Blue aren't good to go back to. Gen 2, Gold and Silver kind of pulled a lot of the dungeons out. And when they had them, they were confusing, but like you could figure it out. It was a bit more puzzly. Hoenn kind of removed dungeons, made it a little bit more straight and more story focused. And then they threw in like nonsense stuff, like unlocking some legendary Pokemon. You have to know Braille. So they threw in some nonsense stuff in Gen 3. Gen 4, I think, comes out with like nice, well-crafted areas with good, simple, but enough work puzzles and not too much work puzzles to make it a good kids game. Although from what I've heard, kids aren't super into it right now because Pokemon was so last year. But but us olds are into it.
Well, what's interesting is what I'll say about the dungeons, quote unquote dungeons, is that as much of a remake as this is supposed to be, I was expecting them not to just do a 3D skin over this game. I was excited initially because it seemed like through the trailers, what they were doing for the remake was introducing new quality of life things, as well as introducing, some new life into the Pokemon franchise. So unknowingly to me, I actually have played this version of Pokemon. So I played Pokemon Platinum before on the DS, I think, which is the only Pokemon game I had played before Pokemon Sword and Shield. So that was my reference. So I played the storyline. I just didn't know it was kind of a addition to Pokemon Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond, the originals. So I had played this game before, so as I'm playing it now, I'm like, oh, I know this story. Oh, I know the general layout of it. So I was expecting them to add things to it. For example, for the dungeons, these dungeons aren't, they're lacking like the puzzle element for me, which is really, really odd because it's more of, like you have to figure out, you go down these stairs, you go up these stairs. It's like very simple. You're not really having to figure out puzzles. And those puzzles are actually implemented more in the actual gyms that you're going through, not in the dungeons. So I wish they had implemented it in both. Because for the actual gyms, I do enjoy the puzzle solving that is actually involved in them because they're not super easy, but they're not frustratingly hard either. It's just like another mechanic that's really enjoyable. And they're pretty much stripping those straight out of the originals, I believe, right? They're not adding anything new, which I feel like that's a missed opportunity right there.
Well, it's better than modern Pokemon games, which are just a straight line.
Yes.
With no dungeons.
That's fair, but if you're doing a remake, like, you have the opportunity to add and improve on the game. Like, why not add puzzles to the dungeons and not just make it, go through these areas and the only challenge is being the random encounters, which I keep running into every 2 steps is very annoying.
I never run into wild Pokemon, which is really annoying because I think
I'm cursed.
I'm doing a Nuzlocke and I'm running around in circles for like a minute. And I'm like, where are the Pokemon? Where are the Pokemon?
It's literally every 2 steps for me. Every 2 steps in grass, every 2 steps in snow, whatever it is.
Depends. There'll be some times where it's like two steps Pokemon, and then it'll be like 20 steps afterwards, and I can't find one. So it ranges. I don't know. I guess they just don't like you, or they like you too much. Maybe they like you too much, Alfredo. But as somebody who doesn't like puzzles in my RPGs, I enjoy the fact that I don't have to do many of them.
That's fair.
So
I like
I
puzzles.
would not like it if they had more puzzles. I'm glad. I think it has the exact amount it needs. And like you said, the gym battles are not hard. They're not hard as far as the puzzles for them go. I'm having a good time with those.
The
So
most
I
fun
like the
though.
balance we have.
There, you guys let me know once you get up to these. Once you experience, I guess, more of the gym puzzles, because they get more complex the later you get on. The one that I really liked was the last one that I did. It was like an ice one, and you have to basically figure. If you remember, Taylor, you have to figure
fact.
out. Okay.
No. Fun fact about this one: there is a massive soft lock in this game.
Oh, really?
In that gym.
Is that where it is? In
Yeah.
the ice gym?
They forgot, because it is a 3D skin of the old one. They forgot that in this game you can move in 9 directions. Not just 4.
I forgot. I wasn't even thinking about that. I only go up, down.
Exactly. So in this game, you can go the wrong way, then go the wrong way back, and just be completely stuck.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But in the same vein, you can just bypass that entire puzzle because of the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
You can just go straight. Yep.
Just for everyone who might be lost about this ice puzzle is basically classic ice game mechanics in video games. You have to go a certain direction, and the entire area is ice. So you're just sliding on ice until you meet a specific patch that will stop you. So you're trying to like basically pinball yourself into these like barriers, these giant snowballs, and destroy all of the giant snowballs on the areas so that you can basically easily get to the gym leader or get to them in the first place. And it's a really fun puzzle. I like it, but I did not know about that cheat.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's really funny. Speaking of that, because I do want to talk about glitches, because I'm a big fan of glitches in video games. In all forms of video games, I like glitches in those, knockoff, shitty, movie tie-in games, and I love glitches in AAA games. I love glitches in Spider-Man. I love glitches in Mass Effect. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying the glitches in this game. They are so funny. To me, they're Pokemon's always been, after the first gen, it's been pretty smooth. The fact that there aren't more glitches in Pokemon games astonishes me. Because they're usually pretty well debugged games. And even in Gen 1, it was hard to find the glitches. They did a good enough job hiding the glitches under layers and layers of GUI programming. And for this one, like there's a scene where Team Galactic runs away, and if you're walking with your Pokemon, they can push your Pokemon away with them off screen.
That is the glitch I see the most.
Yeah.
Where the Pokemon just goes everywhere. Yeah, that's the one I see the
getting in my
most.
way. He just will teleport me into like a hole, into like one cube, and I'm like, I can't move, and then he'll just teleport away and like teleport somewhere else.
I like the glitches in the game. I don't want them to patch them out, as weird as that sounds. I was a little annoyed at first when we get in the game and your little Barry rival following you, and like every time you walk into him, just say who sucks. But I like how pissed off he gets when you beat him. I like that, like all the other rivals after him are all like, I'm your best friend. Oh, you beat me. Ah, shucks. That sucks for me. I'll just try harder next time.
He doesn't need Pokemon. He needs Ritalin. Just saying that clearly. Is crazy.
Is it just me for him? Because I feel like he definitely does not challenge you as much as any other rival.
I wipe him out with my first Pokemon. There's not even a need to change Pokemon.
I mean, yeah, me too. But that's the same for every other like Sword and Shield as well. Like I don't even need to change basically. Yeah. But
I feel like early, I don't know. I feel like in Ruby and Sapphire, it was a little more difficult, if I remember correctly. And maybe it's because I'm just a better player now. But I remember, like when one facing the rival, it was a substantial moment.
Yeah,
This game, he's worse than
Interesting.
some of the other trainers.
That started,
makes
and
sense.
it's continued on in Pokemon games, but that started in Ruby and Sapphire because they
Really?
were
Okay.
challenging, and then Ruby and Sapphire introduced the rival, little green haired boy.
I forgot his name.
I
I
forget
didn't
his
know about
name.
though.
But he was super weak. His story was he was weak. He wasn't a good trainer, and his parents don't want him going on this journey. And you and your dad, who's a gym leader, help him catch a Pokemon and become a trainer. And every time you bump into him, he's got a super weak, under-leveled team. And then he comes up to you at the end of the game, right before you challenge the Elite Four, and he's much stronger. He comes out of nowhere. He's like, I've really come up the ranks. And I'm like, that's good.
That's cool.
I don't know if they do that in this game though. I forget. But speaking of challenging, I will say I know you guys have said the gym leaders aren't challenging. I keep hitting the mic. Gym leaders aren't challenging, but I think they're better than they've ever been before. I think gym leaders and galactic bosses are stronger than they normally are. The AI actually tries to fight, which is a huge upgrade from other Pokemon games.
Okay.
Maybe not challenging, but more challenging than they were in the old games.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. I can't speak for the old games, but I can't call a game where I've died once in 10 hours difficult.
Yeah.
But
And I do think, and look, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I wouldn't list it as a negative because I knew what I was getting into. I knew I was getting into this because, and I'm playing Shin Megami Tensei 5 at the same time where it's like, that game, you will die if you are not paying attention to your resources and your health. Like, you will die.
Yeah.
This game, I do not care. Like, I have like, a level, my level 40 team, who are all level 40, all my favorite Pokemon, Gyarados, all my favorite ones. And I leave them in the PC and just play with the other ones to get a little challenge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I know if I take all my Pokemon out, and I'm not even grinding like that. That's the thing. I'm not like out here grinding. I'm just like playing the game, and I'm just not even having to change Pokemon throughout a whole like level, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how they fix that. Real quick. I've thought about this, and in this game, I don't know why they haven't implemented this in the Pokemon games yet. In the anime, when you come to a gym or when you compete against someone, you choose your team and it is set to the same number as that person. So 3 Pokemon per gym, 3 Pokemon per gym, 5 Pokemon per Elite Four member. Why haven't they implemented those restrictions? Because I
don't think you even have to do that because there's something you said that kind of hints at the fundamental problem. You're carrying around 6 Pokemon.
Yeah.
And nobody, toward the end game, yes, you will get those 6 Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's like it's not, everybody doesn't have 6 Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand why they haven't changed that.
I'll say, like, both of those like hit on the problem, but I think like the underlying problem of both of those things is really with the gym leaders themselves. And the Galactic bosses kind of fix this, but I think the real problem of Pokemon's challenge is that you're literally fighting a Pokemon gym and they all have one exact type. You can easily just pick one Pokemon that has a super effectiveness against them and wipe the floor with them like every single time. So there's that. There's the fact that you can exactly which one of their Pokemon is coming at you and what type. If you have Pokemon knowledge, you can say, oh, this is a flying type, I'm gonna put this type instead. Like, you can easily choose like what is super effective.
But that's an RPG
them.
problem. That's not, I don't think that's a Pokemon problem.
Well, I do think it's a Pokemon problem because it's not like this is something that is random. Like, it's not, oh, this person has to pick a Pokemon first and then the AI will choose something that is super effective. Yeah. Like, they don't even have the ability to swap out Pokemon against something that's not super effective or anything like that. So like, these are things that they can easily fix, but they're used to the formula of Pokemon,
right?
And it's selling like hotcakes. So why would they change anything if this is primarily a children's game? And I don't think it's not meant to be hard and challenging in that way. It's just meant to be fun.
Well, that's why
that's fair.
I do think a team limiter for the battles in the gyms would be beneficial, because in Sword and Shield, one of the things I liked about Sword and Shield was the fact that you had these events. The gym leaders were not just like you show up, you battle. They were sporting events. They were huge. You had an audience of people cheering you on. I like the idea of making a gym battle feel more like a special event, as well as a boss. So even if they're a grass type gym leader, you have 6 Pokemon you can train, especially with the XP share just being a general thing now. Every Pokemon on your team gains XP, so you can train multiple Pokemon at once. So you get a little bit more crafty with your team design. If you know you're coming up against a water gym next, you can only use 3 Pokemon, but there's only a couple of grass Pokemon you can catch. Sure, you could fill your team with that grass Pokemon, but where's the fun in that? You can try to find a rare electric type, or you could try to evolve your fire type to gain a resistance to water, and then challenge them with just those 3. Because the reason I say a team limiter makes sense is in this game, you have the super contests, which I don't know if you've done any of.
I tried it one time.
It throws you right in. There's no tutorial. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going back and forth? I'm like, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. And I did once, pure luck. But it already has those menu selects. What competition setting do you want? What Pokeball do you want to go through and choose? The thing's already in the game's tower where it's actually challenging. You have to choose 3 Pokemon, and that's it, because everyone else is 3. I'm like, why don't they implement that with the gyms? Because it does. I think it would significantly. It wouldn't change the formula. It would make it more special, and it would also create some unique team building. A little bit more
I don't think
strategy.
it increases the challenge though.
It doesn't need to. What I think it could, because I do this self-imposed anyway. I only go into 3 Pokemon if the gym leader is 3 Pokemon.
That's on. And yeah, if you do it like, because there are ways where I've tried to make it more challenging. Where, all right, it's the rock type. I'm not gonna bring, what is it, water? I'm not gonna bring any water types in here. I'll bring a fire type. I'll bring something where I'm not gonna get the super effective, and I still just run through these guys.
I always do the super effective.
Here's the thing.
Because if you do super effective, it's like easy mode. It becomes easy mode.
So when I got to the first gym, this is what made me think the gym AI was much better, and the move sets on the gym teams were much better. I get to the first gym. My starter was Turtwig, so I've got a grass type. And I'm like, oh, it's a rock type gym. This is going to be smooth sailing. But I'm also playing with the self-imposed rules that if my Pokemon dies, I can't use it ever again. The Nuzlocke rules.
No revive, no nothing like that.
No revives. I just release it. It's not on my team anymore. So I'm already playing with, like, I don't want any of my Pokemon to faint, but my team is a grass type, a flying type, a rock type, and an electric type. So I can't use the flying type because it will lose. And I switched into my Geodude because I'm like, oh, it's a rock type against a rock type. I will have a chance because my Geodude's higher level than his rock type. And then he just whipped out a ground type move and one hit KO'd my Geodude. I was like, I didn't know it knew that move. I didn't know it could learn that move, and it just knocked me out in one hit. I completely floored me. Same thing with the second gym.
That's happened to me too. Sometimes they surprise you with these ground type moves that you did, or these type moves that you didn't know they could learn that's super effective against you.
Exactly, and I like that. I like that switch.
Psyduck for me. Psyduck's a kid. Like whenever I might be using a like a grass type against him, and then he'll use like Psybeam, and I'm like, oh.
Well, that's why I think a team limiter might not just be completely too streamlined, because there are the two type mechanics of Pokemon. You have 2 different types. I use, for example, great level design in Red and Blue. I really like this level design in Red and Blue, where Misty, the second gym leader, has water type Pokemon. You know that already going into it, and you're like, okay, there are plenty of grass type Pokemon in the game up until that point. And you can find a Pikachu, but it's really rare. So, okay, you don't want to spend a couple 20 minutes looking for a Pikachu. It's got like a 2% encounter rate in Viridian Forest. So, but you've got Bulbasaur, you've got Oddish, you've got Bellsprout, you've got all these grass types you can choose from early game. But then her Pokemon team is Water and Psychic, good against Poison type, and all those grass types are half poison. So I'm like, yes, you can come with those grass types, but there's a great chance she'll just one-hit KO those because they are weak to her other type. So I think there's still some good balancing issues or balancing acts you can have going on with the challenge of Pokemon. That they're just not. They're already implemented into portions of the game. They just need to put them in the main game to make them a little bit more exciting, a little bit more engaging, and a little bit more challenging. I'm not going to say it's going to make it like a hard game, but just a little bit more.
Yeah.
I feel like the only way we're going to get to that point is if they did something maybe as simple as putting in a difficulty selector in the beginning of a Pokemon level.
They really
I don't think you need to do that. I think you need to make like a hard mode that gets unlocked afterwards.
That too.
Like you
for having it available.
Games
before.
do. I know games. Yeah, I would too, but I feel like they wouldn't want to turn off their audience.
Right.
Spoilers for the end of this game. Because I do watch.
Get hard mode.
No. Well, half and half. Okay, so one of the big complaints with modern Pokemon games is the game ends. A game you beat the Elite Four, it's over. You're good to go. You're done. And there's like one little battle tower you can use. One of the great features of good Pokemon games like Heart Gold and Soul Silver and Pokemon I just want to mention Pokemon Black and White 2 has the best post-game feature ever in a Pokemon game, which is the World Championship Showdown, where gym leaders from every other Pokemon game show up with super high level, super strong teams.
That's dope.
And you fight in a bracket system. I'm like,
that's
that's
really cool.
I don't know why they don't do that all the time because it's it was such a good idea and it was so fun. It just needs to be in every game. But
maybe if they had more employees.
Maybe if they had more employees. But in this game, the champion has the hardest AI in the game. She comes at you with everything. And after it, you can rebattle all the gym leaders. And they all have much stronger, much more intelligent AIs and much more well-diversed teams.
Okay, interesting.
And so that's a nice little touch, a nice little addition.
Was that in the original?
Kind of. In the original, you could go meet the gym leaders in Platinum, I believe. You could meet the gym leaders in the resort area after the game. They're all on vacation because you beat them, and they all have much stronger teams. But it would like rotate out weekly. I'm not sure if that's how it works in this game or not, but it used to be a feature of Pokemon games where you could rematch gym leaders, and then they took it out because they don't want people having fun after the game's over. I don't get it.
Of course
I
not.
want you to buy the next Pokemon game.
Yeah, that too.
That's the main thing. But while we're on the topic of things we don't like, this is a minor thing. I know it's a minor thing, but it really does ground my gears.
Yep.
So I feel like I'm hearing the same sounds that I heard when I played Pokemon Red and Blue. I feel like I'm hearing the same sounds from these Pokemon.
What do you mean?
The same exact sounds.
They've updated a couple of them.
That's my problem. No, but that's my problem. They have. Like Pikachu says Pikachu.
Yeah, they got the voice actor.
Pikachu can say its name.
And
but all these other Pokemon in this world are just doing grunts. It makes no sense.
Ridiculous.
It makes no sense.
No. It's a completely valid argument.
As someone who likes the anime, and all the Pokemon say their name, you can't tell me that's that much of an investment of money and time. You can't tell me it's too much.
Thomas, tell me.
I'm sorry.
How would you play a Pokemon game? And yes, I understand it is annoying because they specifically went out of the way. The corporate shills they are, Nintendo went out of their way and got voice actors for Pikachu and Eevee because they're trying to push them as the mascots of the franchise. So Pikachu comes in, Pikachu, Eevee goes Eevee. Imagine a game where you have a voice actor screaming like Gyarados.
I love it. It needs the problem with Pokemon games is they try to act like the anime doesn't exist. Across the board. They just try to act like this whole entire anime doesn't exist, or the manga too. It is they act like this stuff doesn't exist. That the Pokemon just make these random noises, and that's it.
Yeah.
I would love
fair.
if I hit Gyarados with the Hyper Beam. Gyarados, I'd love it. It would be so much more authentic, but no, it's just like he makes no sound and he just faints. It's like, come on now. It's like little stuff like
So
that.
he'll just do the grunts. I haven't used Gyarados.
No, he won't even do the grunts. They don't do the grunts.
Oh,
If you get hit with the Hyper Beam, it's just gonna hear the Hyper Beam sound.
Okay, that could be annoying, yeah.
And then the
I'd be
text just
there.
says Gyarados fainted, and you see Gyarados just do his little fainting thing. Don't say nothing.
There is going to be a little voice acting in Legends Arceus. We know that for a fact.
I hope so.
No, well, I mean, nothing special, but I feel like they're getting their toes more into it. Because
Okay.
their Pokemon's very, very
Their
slow.
toes into
Look, I hear what you're saying, but
like it's some revolutionary thing.
I just feel like it's a very fine line when you're talking Pokemon and voice acting and inserting noises into the game, because at one point it's too much, it's overboard, and then at another point it's too little.
Yeah.
So like, where
Right.
do you draw that line?
I think voice acting deserves the quote unquote symbol.
Well,
Yes.
We're talking them saying their name in like a couple different tones.
here's what we know about Legends Arceus is that your main character will grunt and humph and hiya like
Link.
Like
Right.
Link.
Okay,
So
we'll take it. We'll take it.
That's fine.
we'll take it. Yeah,
That's better than the nothing that we get now.
exactly.
That's true.
We never hear about the main character. We never hear any. Look, that's fine. They're not the first game to do that, but at least give me some sounds from these goddamn Pokemon. I'm sorry. Playing Shin Megami Tensei and like not everybody has a voice, but like hearing all the individual voices, it's really weird playing these two games back to back because they couldn't be more opposite,
Yeah,
but still have the same fundamental gotta catch them all gameplay.
yeah.
You know, and it's like I'm just like, dang, like y'all couldn't have spent like the extra $100K maybe. I don't even think it cost that much.
You get
But-
one voice actor in for the day who knows a bunch of-
Exactly.
you know,
You just have them go down the line of
I think it
Pokemon.
needs to be more than one voice actor. I feel like that'd get a little annoying.
that's fair.
Get a little
You can have
annoying.
2 voice
Get-
actors.
If it's one voice actor doing all the Pokemon,
You won't be able to tell.
Can I make
that would be hilarious.
can I make another complaint?
Go ahead.
I
safe.
thank you. The controls suck. The controls just outright suck.
What do you
What do
mean?
you mean?
What
The
control?
The analog
Besides
stick.
that, left, right.
That was my thought too. I'm like, what control?
That's why I'm wondering.
The analog stick. The only one. The analog stick is horrible.
I still need more clarification.
Yeah, what do you mean by horrible?
It's hard to line yourself up on routes. You're bumping into stuff all the time.
Okay,
you're
yeah.
going the wrong way. You're bumping into walls.
Okay.
It takes me like 5 tries to get in a door. Like
Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's fair.
You're right. You're right.
Um,
That's fair.
And then
I had to
and
think
then
about it, but yeah, you're right. It is. You do make some mistakes trying to get into the doors.
I've been
yeah.
I've been swapping between the analog stick and the D-pad, a little bit. But
Ooh,
it's
D-pad would be nice for this game.
you can use it. It's just real slow. It's just really slow.
Hmm.
And I don't like the controls. I
Well,
don't-
you know what? The one thing, and look, I hate this game, but the one thing I will say that Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, not this game specifically, but Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, I hate those games.
Very different game though than the main line.
But what I was saying is they're bad in a lot of aspects, but I could play that thing one-handed.
Yeah.
I love that. Like that was something that I did appreciate when I was playing mobile. Like I could literally just have my Switch and be playing one-handed.
Mhm.
So it's like that's one thing that you can't really do with this game that I was a little disappointed in. I think that's kind of a step backward. I don't know if Sword and Shield, I can't remember if Sword and Shield was the same way. But I wish that they would have updated the controls to take advantage of the Switch a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Sword and Shield, because that's the one that I was all aboard for. I was like, okay, this is the one that's going to change it all from,
Really?
hopefully, well, that's what they made it out to be because, it's the first Pokemon on the Switch.
Are you
before we
saying
actually
like
got
when
it.
did you buy Sword and Shield?
Yes, I bought Sword and Shield.
Oh,
Right
see,
behind me.
I knew when I saw the trailers, I was like, oh,
Look, I wanted to believe that Pokemon could do better. So when I got it, you know, I was like, okay,
gotcha.
how foolish of me. But what I was a little bit taken aback by this game, because this is the game after Sword and Shield, even though it is a remake, I was expecting that same, I guess, level of, me playing a new Pokemon to be there. I was expecting there to be clothing shops. I was expecting it to be open-ish worldish, since it's still like a 3D game, for it to like have an actual town and NPCs outside and stuff like that. And I feel like they've regressed from a little bit in certain aspects from where that game was, Sword and Shield, and where this game is. Because in this game, like I was complaining about last week, they do have the clothing style shops, but they don't allow you to do any mixing and matching. You only pay for a specific outfit, and the outfits are really expensive. So I could only afford one outfit.
Yeah, me too.
But I look good right now. But yeah, they took the certain aspects and then just decided not to actually implement them, not to fully. It's like they half committed to it and said, let's do it, but let's not go overboard. Let's not give them what they want too much.
Well, that's for
Even-
Arceus. That's for Arceus.
It is, but well, we'll
Yeah.
see. But I mean, another aspect is like the towns. I expected it to be more like a Sword and Shield town, where like they have these big towns, there's multiple stores in quotes to go into, multiple houses, and have more than just one character just to talk to about random stuff. But they opted for the more, the straightforward remake port, instead of doing what they could have done with, I don't know, obviously we wouldn't get a Final Fantasy VII remake out of this, but it's like I don't know. It feels like they didn't even try in a lot of regards, and I'm not sure if that's because Pokemon wouldn't allow them, Game Freak in particular, but I don't know. I feel like it's gone backwards in a lot of ways.
I'm going to counter your point. I'm going to argue against it because I think my little thesis statement here is I think these games, while technically just a port of Diamond and Pearl, are refreshing enough to be enjoyable brand new. I think they are a nice refresher, like a nice cold glass of
Palate
water.
cleanser.
Yeah, a palate cleanser, because it is weird how they are based on old games, but those old Pokemon games are better than the most recent one.
That's fair.
And all these little tiny aspects that they've implemented, like the clothing, like the underground being kind of revamped to have wild Pokemon in it, like, oh my god, just because I do see a level of love for Pokemon in this game from the designers from ICLA, ILCA. They just a little Bidoof or the Bibarel, when you use your special moves outside of battle, a little wild Bidoof or Bibarel comes along and does it for you. Because that's what everyone did in the old games. It's a bit of a meme, but like everyone used Bidoof as an HM slave, because it just knew all the HM moves. I'll catch one and use it for everything. Like,
and you're right. It is.
never
It is
enough
where
of
all my ones come from. I didn't even realize that's how you said it. Damn.
And it's a cute little gesture to like
And
fans.
it makes the same. It makes that funny sound too.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear it.
It's a cute little touch, and I think all those little lifestyle improvements that this game has added make it better than a lot of Pokemon games. I'm not saying this is the best Pokemon game, but it's better than Sword and Shield. And
It's the best Pokemon game on the Switch currently.
yeah. And it didn't need to be better than the old ones. It could have just been a flat port. They've done that before with a couple little extra add-ons, but this, and honestly, I give the company credit, because when you look at the game on like a small screen, or you're not like, you're kind of like zoning out, it does look identical to the DS games, just in 3D. And I have to assume that was an intentional artistic choice.
It's what they were
They-
paid to make.
Yeah.
I
That's what they were
assume.
paid to make, and they made it perfectly. They
Mhm.
really captured that art style in 3D. Because the game we should compare this to is Link's Awakening remake.
Oh, it looks like shit compared to that. I will say that.
It does.
It
Well,
looks like
yeah.
shit. That honestly, that to me is one of the most impressive Switch games. Just from
That's
how
so
it
much of
looks, because it commits to that art style. And that art style is so unique because it makes everything look like a toy box. Like everything came
Mhm.
out of a toy box.
Yeah.
This game
Which
looks
is-
like a shitty version of that, but I
which is what-
still like the aesthetic.
Yeah.
They cheat that toy box aesthetic with a technique called tilt shifting, which
Mhm.
if you do Instagram or photography,
Right.
tilt shifting is a way to blur out the top and bottom of the screen to make the middle look very small. It's good for like landscape photography. You can get a big wide shot and then blur out diagonals on the top and bottom and make this one little tiny portion, like a city or something, look like it's a little toy chest or a little model. And they do that in this game, and it's a little annoying in some places, but I'm like, it's a good cheat. It is a good cheat to make the game look like Link's Awakening.
Mhm.
I'm not saying this looks good. This game doesn't look good because it's
But why doesn't it is my question. Like, I hear what you're saying definitely about the quality of life improvements and everything that they have shown to show that, you know, they have love of Pokemon. I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything denying it. But I also think it's a big missed opportunity for what they could have done, especially when you compare it to other remakes like Link's Awakening. Like, why doesn't this Pokemon game, which is a remake, why couldn't they have made it look more special? Like how Link's Awakening does. Like,
Well,
why
Link's
does
Awakening
it
is a
look just...
Nintendo. It's a Nintendo endeavor. Like that's a Nintendo production made by a Nintendo. I don't know. I'm gonna look it up actually, but it's made by a Nintendo studio.
Yeah.
Game Freak is not a Nintendo studio, and this company that made this game
That's fair.
is, you know, I don't
But
know if
this
they're
is-
how much they're with Game Freak, but
Mhm.
Game Freak employed them to make this game.
Yeah,
But
not
this is
Nintendo.
their money maker. Like, why aren't they just throwing money at this Pokemon game? I know
You
they
bought
don't
it- you
have
bought
to.
it, didn't you?
Obviously, exactly. They don't have to
That's
because
the
I bought
point.
it anyway. But like, it's just the problem is that we're all enablers. We're all enablers in the Pokemon universe, and that's why we're not gonna get our Link's Awakening remake.
No.
It's not gonna be as good as it can be because it doesn't have to.
I think some of it is a lack of vision behind the art staff. I'm not saying I'm not going to insult the art staff because I think the Pokemon designers, the guys who work, the guys and gals who work to make the Pokemon, are talented. I think they know the aesthetic. I know a lot of people hate James Turner. He's the first white guy to work on one of these games, and he's the head art designer for the Pokemon characters now. He came in as a 3D artist and just proved himself as like good at designing Pokemon, and he's really been carrying that vision. And I think the rest of the art team at Game Freak is really talented. What I would argue the problem is that there's a lack of cohesive artistic vision from the higher ups at Game Freak. A lot of the old guard at Game Freak from Red and Blue and Gold and Silver, who these people, the original staff who worked on Pokemon games, the artists, the programmers, the developers, they had a passion. They had an absolute passion. And now they're gone. They've been replaced by people who are jaded and paid a lot of money and don't want to do anything. So there is clearly a love for Zelda. I've seen plenty of interviews with Game Freak staff, and they have a huge love for Zelda games. I think they're just trying to mimic Zelda. It's almost weird how these two games, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, followed by Legends Arceus, are literally cheap copies of Zelda styles. This is clearly trying to emulate that Link's Awakening look, and that is clearly trying to emulate that Breath of the Wild look. There's no they don't know what to do with Pokemon artistically anymore.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny,
Yeah.
Taylor? Not to interrupt.
Yeah, no,
So
you're
I
fine.
looked up the company who developed Link's Awakening remake. It's essentially the same situation that Pokemon was faced with. They
Is it not
outsourced it.
Nintendo?
No, they outsourced it to a company called Grizo.
Interesting.
Now, Grizo has worked on things such as the Ocarina of Time remix for the 3DS.
Good games.
They made the Street Pass Garden. I remember playing that.
Weird.
They made Luigi's Mansion for 3DS.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
And recently they made Miitopia.
So they do well with that little chibi
Interesting.
style. They are
Yeah.
that little chibi style.
Now, why
Right.
didn't they get
Why?
Pokemon
Yeah.
to this?
Why wouldn't you just get them to make this game?
Right. What's going on?
Because
Like-
because Pokemon had a relationship with ILCA.
So what
ILCA
have they
But
made?
Pokemon had a relationship with Grizo too.
Did they really? How?
They
What
made
they
they've made all these games. They made the Link's Awakening.
We mean not just like by Nintendo, but it sounds like Pokemon.
Do you mean their relationship with Game
Freak
Freak?
Game Freak had a prior relationship with ILCA because ILCA would make the like storage systems for Pokemon. Pokemon Home was made by them.
Storage systems, not actual games.
actual
Come
games.
on.
That's my thing. That's my thing. Look, and I'm not trying to poo-poo this company. I think they did a good job of what they were given.
Mhm.
I think I want to commend them because it's rare that I even play a Pokemon game at all. So they convinced me to get this game, spend my hard-earned money, having a great time playing it. I'm gonna beat it. Shouts out to y'all. I don't understand how they were able to work on this Pokemon game, but the company that literally set the standard for this style, who works with Nintendo, like I just don't get it. Like it just seems like I don't know. It just seems to me like they want these games to look shitty. It's like there's a mandate. There's a mandate that Pokemon has to be the shittiest looking first party game. It has to be the shittiest.
It definitely stinks of like executive like leadership where they're prioritizing, oh, like we know this person from this company, so you get the contract instead. Like typical corporate smoozing over like what's actually gonna make the game good.
I watch this as an adult as a podcast where we reminisce about movies from our childhood and we see if it still holds up or we just say, I used to watch this crap. Check out the podcast to see what we say. Peace.
I also wonder how much of the issues at Game Freak are related to bad blood with Nintendo. The reason I say that is Ken Sugimori, who is the original art guy for Pokemon. He drew everyone. He made the games look that nostalgic feel we all think of. He's a very very talented artist, good water painter, like really good artist. He really doesn't work with the games anymore. He comes in after the games are finished and like draws and paints the Pokemon to be his style specifically, just so there's like some cohesion. But that's really all he does. And the reason I say there could be some bad blood with the art team on Pokemon and Nintendo is because Nintendo came in and told Pokemon they can't do pixel art anymore. And there were a lot of pixel art artists on the staff at Nintendo. The reason I say that is because I think Game Freak still throws a bone to those people. They still work there, probably for less money, because they still make the sprites for the menus. They still make little pixel art sprites for the menus. But they were probably higher up. They were probably well regarded amongst Pokemon's company system. And then they got booted by Nintendo. They said, you gotta fire him. You gotta get rid of him. And they're like, can we just like have a couple people on just to do menu icons?
Can I throw a challenge flag really quick? How much work are these people doing? Because how much work is involved in making this pixel art? To be honest,
Now,
like
sounds
back
like just the
then,
menu. I got it.
You know what I'm saying? But like, because they're still in the menu and stuff. Besides that, Like we're talking what the
Probably-
main the characters and just the battle animations?
Well, it was everything back then, right?
everything back then was
Okay.
pixelated.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure.
That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to make, especially
So
for
you're saying since everything's 3D,
they don't have
that those people have
those people
no.
who were the main artists at Nintendo were kicked out and replaced with people who knew 3D art. Those 3D artists, no offense to 3D artists, but a lot of 3D artists, especially in the game industry, are kind of dead on the
Okay.
inside because they work a lot for not a lot of money. There's one guy who works for Pokemon, Hiroyuki Tani.
Mhm.
He is one of the few people I've seen in interviews at Game Freak who actually wants to make good Pokemon games. Everyone else has kind of succumbed to like that, very much what Alfredo was talking about with this corporate oversight committee that just says this is what Pokemon needs to be. We need to make this many Pokemon card sales, this many plushie sales, this many t-shirt sales. Do it. And lets the games just sort of dwindle and come out. He made Sword and Shield playable for me because he made the DLC. He directed the DLC, and he has an outright vision for what Pokemon wants to be. You play the DLC in those games; they're so far gone from Pokemon's normal formula, where you're just battling gym leaders, blah blah blah. In these games, the stories actually take a little bit more frontward-facing action, which some people might complain about, but I think in Pokemon games, these are a breath of fresh air. Where the first DLC, you show up on this island, weird guy or gal comes up to you and challenges you to battle, says, "I've heard of you. You're taking on the gym leaders. You're really cool. You're really powerful. You're gonna fight me because you don't, I'm the champion on this island." You find out that they're like a little weakling. They train at a dojo, and you join this dojo, and the Grandmaster, who's like classic Mr. What's his name from
Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi. His name's Mustard. His name's Dojo Master Mustard. And he's just a guy who's like, go do this frivolous task, and he makes you go like pick mushrooms. And you got to go find 3 of this very rare specific mushroom. And then he's like, oh, you've got to go find me this honey. You got to find me this honey. And then it's just like a nice little you've got a center of your action where this main character's happening, and same thing in the next one. You're hanging out with this guy. He's an adventurer. He's just on vacation. He wants to do something fun with his daughter, but his daughter's too old for what he's trying to do. He's got this grandiose idea for like an Indiana Jones style adventure, but his daughter's like, Dad, I'm like 16. I don't want to do this. So he comes to you and he's like, hey, you seem fun. You want to do this with me? It's just
Random kid.
Yeah, random kid, you want to do this? It's just fun. Turns out every one of he's got like it's so full of like heart and soul. This guy comes up with you with like these little crayon drawings. He's drawn like maps out of crayons, and they're like little stick figures on them, and it's really cute. And he's like, yeah, I've heard there's a legendary Pokemon here. You go there, and there really is. And he's like, oh, I'm just kidding. There's no such thing as legendary Pokemon. They don't exist. And he's making you go out on these little silly missions, and it's fun. It's so full of heart and soul. And then you play the rest of Sword and Shield, and it's just like, I want to kill myself. There's everything's boring, everything's too wordy, everything is slow and sluggish, and it looks cheap, and it's just it pisses me off.
Now I'm as casual as a Pokemon fan as you can find. I have a specific question for you, Taylor, because I've been really thinking about this
Sure.
and how to improve these games.
Yeah.
I would not be upset if this was the last 3D Pokemon game in this style. Because I feel like this game, I was playing this game, and I know I've never played this game, but it felt like I played this game before.
Mhm.
Like it felt, I knew, all right, we're going to the rock gym first. Or, like I knew we're going to have to go to the cave. It's like, I know the beats of this.
Yeah.
I would prefer if because it sounds like to me, they're having a real big issue with the pixel art staff. They need to.
I don't know. That's completely.
But it would make sense. Like that does make a lot of sense. There are a lot of studios that had to deal with that because they went from making a lot of studios went from making 3DS games to making, just Switch games.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of I know Atlas had to deal with that because they were making a bunch of games like that. The Bravely Default team I know had to deal with that. So it's not a situation unique to Pokemon, but nonetheless, Game Freak has to deal with this.
Yeah.
My solution would be they make 2 games, one every other year. One in terms of the Arceus style, because that seems like they're going to try to make that the future of Pokemon, which I think is a great idea. The other one is just go back to the pixel style and release them bi-yearly.
The pixel art style is too expensive. It is.
Is it?
Yes, pixel art.
Pixel art is very. He's right. Pixel art is very expensive.
Pixel art's more expensive, time consuming, and there isn't as big an audience for it, which is Game Freak's problem. Game Freak is a money making corporate.
And I'm saying, I say make one and see how it sells. If it doesn't sell, then you know your answer.
It's Pokemon though, so I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even if it's expensive, it's gonna sell. So it's like, I don't agree. I agree with you, it's expensive, but you're gonna see a return on your investment.
I feel like it doesn't even. I feel like it doesn't even need those types of changes. I think it just needs some of the changes, like both of you guys are saying, like we're all saying here. Implement the things that are in the anime. Implement like things that'll make it a little bit harder, a little bit more difficult.
You can make it like Guilty Gear. You can literally just have it be just this is the anime come to life.
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna say. The only way you can make okay, let me real quick fitting Kanto. The only way you can make a pixel art game that would sell for Pokemon right now.
It would sell.
Well, no, I mean like really sell, like in a way.
It won't be the best selling Pokemon game, but I feel like if you made a pixel art game and you don't charge full price for it, you charge $40, like you did back in the 3DS days and the DS days.
Nintendo not charging $60. Ha.
Hear me out. Here's how they charge $60 for a pixel art game, and it sells like hotcakes. There is one piece of folklore about Pokemon that always impresses me, always makes me go, wow, that is a special video game moment. And it was when Mr. Nintendo himself, Iwata, a week before Gold and Silver's release, or printing, was able to find a way to program in all of Red and Blue.
Mm-hmm. I remember the story.
That is such an amazing feat of old school programming, and it really puts Nintendo in its own little world, where like that was the culture back then. It was just a bunch of computer geeks who really wanted to make video games.
Imagine the uppers he was on trying to do that.
There are some stories about original Game Freak. There were some funny stories about old
Game Freaks. Yes,
I can't find proof of it, but they used to be like a couple of them used to be hard school like protesting communists.
Oh my god!
I can't find it.
There's history in the original. There's like not communist themes per se, but just how like the game, like everything's set up.
That's something I want to get to in a little bit. Actually, that's a great segue. But real quick, how to make a great Pokemon game in pixel art?
Mm-hmm.
Put all the games in it. Make one game that is all the games. It's just that simple. Make it Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Unova. Make it the first 5 games and put them in one contained game. That you, as one character, not like a Mario thing where there's like 3 games in one cartridge, but make them all one coherent map. You can use every single Pokemon game has a boat. When you get to the end of the game, go to the next one, or choose a different one to go to, and go in your own pace, your own order.
I feel like that's more than $60.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I think the Pokemon accountant's gonna wheel himself into the podcast. Like, all right, how much do you think it's gonna cost?
I don't think it's gonna cost anything. You could probably keep the same engines. Just take the Fire Red and Leaf Green game. Put it in there.
Yeah.
Just take Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Honestly, if they made all the games just look like that, I feel like that to me is the best looking era of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because that's the same engine as Ruby and Sapphire. Like that Ruby and Sapphire, Leaf Green, Fire Red. like you take that engine, adapt it to widescreen, and just I feel like those games have a possibility of selling.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I do think having all the worlds there would be icing on the cake.
Yeah, I love the idea. Love the idea. I would buy it.
It won't happen.
But here's the
Life
thing.
ain't that good.
Yes, the thing is, why would they do that when they can just down the line release Pokemon Red and Blue again, remake, but just the same exact way it was with newly released pixel art for $60.
Well,
Like I feel like people would just buy it.
I think there's value in prestige. I think that is the one thing that is escaping these Pokemon games.
What do you mean?
Prestige. Like, for example, Sony's first party studios, they sell like hotcakes too. Not Pokemon levels, but they sell like hotcakes too. But they're also trying to compete for these Game of the Year awards and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is inherent to their value. If they weren't competing for those, they wouldn't sell nearly as much.
Right.
So the idea that Pokemon releasing a 7 out of 10 game, which I believe if I really were to like narrow it down, like my grade, I probably would give this like a 7 out of 10, even though I like it a lot. Like it's a 7 out of 10. It's not world beating. It's not the greatest experience I've had this year.
Yeah.
If you made a 10 out of 10 Pokemon game, that game, I guarantee you, is going to be the best-selling Pokemon game of all time. There's no doubt in my mind because these half-ass games sell more than a lot of games coming out now. Mm-hmm. If you threw quality with it, where it's getting now, you're hearing about it everywhere. At the end of the year, like the game comes on like February, and you're hearing about it in December for Game of the Year. You can't tell me that game is not going to be the highest-selling Pokemon game.
No, you're right.
That's what is missing. That's why I don't think just shit. You can say like, oh, why don't they just shit out these Pokemon? I'm like, they could do that and they probably will do that, but there's value in prestige. And Sony has learned this.
I disagree, though. I disagree that there's value in prestige for Pokemon. Because if they were to do that, if they were to make this 10 out of 10 experience of Pokemon, best Pokemon of all time, this is an annual franchise. Everyone's going to be expecting a 10 out of 10 Pokemon the next year or 2 years or however many it comes. And that's not going to happen again. It's just not.
Behooves Nintendo. It actually behooves Game Freak to make a subpar game.
Exactly, because then they don't have to. They don't have the prestige that people will be expecting.
You're 100% right.
Sony can just keep on bringing
but you're right.
heat.
But my thing is that is exclusive to Game Freak. Like Nintendo, like that doesn't apply to Mario or Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Like Zelda, they make a 10 out of 10, and the bar is just raised now. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't mean
like those teams can actually meet the bar that they're setting, you know?
Like if you make a 10 out of 10 game, why the hell would you release a 7 out of 10 game next? You know what I'm saying? Like why wouldn't the bar just be risen at this point? That's my question, because this is the only studio that we're saying this is the thing. Mm-hmm. Every other studio, if you make a 10 out of 10 game, the expectations are now like when CD Projekt Red makes The Witcher 3. It's not to me a 10 out of 10, but it's a 10 out of 10 game to a lot of people. So when you make Cyberpunk, if Ubisoft had made Cyberpunk 2077, that game is not getting nearly the amount of shit that it would get. But since it's coming from a developer that made it, you know what I'm saying, it's going to get a lot more criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what I'm saying with Game Freak is that excuse only applies to y'all because people will still buy this no matter what, which is something that I just don't understand. Like I don't understand it, and I think Taylor's one of them who will buy these Pokemon games no matter what.
I would. Well, I think another thing that would help is variety. Variety is good for games.
Always
You don't need the main series games. These Diamonds and Pearls, these Sword and Shields, they need to be that subpar, just acceptable. They're the AAA games that come out every year. But you come out with another. I really like XD, Gala Darkness. I really like Colosseum. Those games were on GameCube. They were made by a different studio, Sunrority. They were different. They weren't great games, but they gave me a different thing to do in the Pokemon world.
So you did get two, right? We got Snap and we got that XD, right? The dungeon
Pokemon
game.
Mystery Dungeon.
Yes, we got those
yeah.
two games between Sword and Shield and this.
Those little dungeon crawlers are a lot of fun.
But you're
Snap-
saying something of more of like a battling game that because I think XD was more RPG. It was RPG.
Didn't
So-
Coliseum have like? Wasn't it more like a mainline storyline where it had the battles, it had a story?
Didn't have the Pokemon catching.
It
Oh, it
didn't have
didn't.
Pokemon. You were a thief. You stole people's Pokemon.
Oh, that is cool. I won't
Yeah.
play that game.
It's a great game.
It's $200 right now if you want to buy it. It's free if you emulate it.
But
just
we
saying.
don't recommend
don't-
emulating it unless you own it. Just a disclaimer.
Yeah.
right.
No, those games were fun. There were the stadiums, Stadium 1, Stadium 2, and Battle Revolution for the Wii, which were novelties and really cool when they came out because you could play with your Pokemon on the TV. Now you don't need that because you've got, the Switch.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think just a pure battling game would be fun. I really like Pokemon Pokken, the Pokemon Tekken game.
Oh yeah. hmm
Love that game.
I didn't like that game, but I feel you. It had an audience. It had an
Yeah,
audience.
it had the same audiences as ARMS, where it's just like
Yeah.
it's a fun little game to sit down and fight people.
I know a
Everyone-
lot of people who bought that game because it was the only fighting game on Switch at a time.
Exactly. But again, just even if you don't love that game, it's variety. Someone will love that game. Someone
Do you
will
know?
love-
Do you know what Game Freak calls variety though? Which is gonna be sad. I expect to see more than a version of Stadium. They're just gonna put Stadium on the Switch store at some point for $60.
Yeah,
put the
they
original
will.
Stadium
It'll-
remastered for $60.
It could very well end up on the 64 emulator.
I ain't think it'll end up on there.
I think it's gonna end up.
I think
there.
It'll be cheaper
it's
to put
something
it.
for 60.
Well,
We haven't gotten. I mean, there has been opportunity, but I don't think we're getting any Pokemon games if we get if we get the GBA or a Game Boy Color emulator on there. I don't think we're getting that.
Yeah.
Like, I'd bet
I doubt
against-
they would
I'd bet
give us
against
something
it.
So good.
That's too much content.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because I don't think are there any RPGs on those?
I don't think right now, right?
I don't think so.
No, because they refused to put Final Fantasy VI
Mhm.
No
on
Earthbound. No Earthbound.
Nerfbound. No Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're against putting RPGs on it, which I guess makes sense because I don't think they like people using. I think that thing is as a benefit, but they don't want people investing like hours of time into it.
Mhm.
Sure.
They don't want to make a Game Pass.
Right. So I don't think we're getting Pokemon for free at any point in time on the Switch. I think we're gonna get these remastered. Now, if they release, I'd shamefully buy a remastered version of Leaf Green for 60.
Sure.
I'd
Sure.
shamefully
people
buy
would.
that. I'd shamefully buy that. And I'm saying I think if they went back to the pixel art, I think they can make a lot of money.
I think you will definitely get that eventually. You'll get your leaf green, your yellow, your red, blue. You'll get it, and I feel like they'll do like remastered new pixel art, but it's gonna be $60, and it's just gonna be the same exact game with
Well,
like a new coat.
I'd
Kind of
hope-
like this.
I'd hope in that
Shipping from
situation
Brilliant
you have at
Diamond.
least like they're bundled. I'd hope.
No.
I doubt it. No way.
No. The whole
No
gimmick.
way.
The whole
Super
gimmick is just
Pokemon All Stars, anybody?
No. Now, okay. I wanna bring up one little thing that
Okay.
I want. We've been poo pooing Pokemon for a while because they're a shit
We
company.
have.
There's a lot to talk about as far as
There's a lot to
poo-pooing
talk about.
this franchise.
I want to say something good. I want to say something good about Game Freak, or the team who work on Pokemon games. Not anymore, but originally, Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, Ruby, Sapphire, and Diamond and Pearl, and Black and White. The original pixel art games, before they lost their whole soul and went to 3D, and none of those games have been good ever since.
Sun and Moon was okay.
I want to appreciate the underlying themes that Pokemon is trying to relay to the audience, specifically kids. You may not notice it as a kid, but going back, and I've been thinking about this a lot recently, is going back and looking at the themes of Pokemon they become pretty. You almost have to appreciate them because they're not so up front. They get more up front as the games go on, culminating in you literally battling Pokemon PETA. But the design of the themes in the games can be appreciated like a fine wine or like a movie where you don't get all of the themes at once, but you kind of like break it down in your head later. And I think their main theme is a weird take on environmentalism throughout all the games. The relationship between technology and people. The original games very clearly, your whole game is in a countryside, but in the center of the world there's a city, and there are these poison type Pokemon and steel type Pokemon, electric Pokemon running around there. And then you get to Gold and Silver, and Gold and Silver are these games about tradition. There's this underlying theme about tradition, specifically Japanese-based tradition, but it being encroached upon by technology. There's very bluntly one of the old prayer towers in the city was burnt down, and then in another city, the other massive tower was torn down by people and replaced with a radio tower. In Ruby and Sapphire, you've obviously got the overwhelmingly in-your-face themes about how adults mess with the environment and how they could ruin it for everyone and not even know they're doing it. How they are. I like that in those games, the villains at the end of the game turn to the kid and go, I didn't know it would turn out like this. I wanted the world to be wetter. I wanted there to be more water. And now everyone's going to die. I'm sorry. I didn't know this. And it's true. I mean, a lot of the elderly who do ruin the environment for the future generations probably didn't think they were doing it. Probably didn't understand the ramifications of their actions. In these games, I like the TV aspect of it. I didn't realize that when I originally played the games, but there's a lot of TVs in these games. The opening scene is you watching TV, and then you trying to emulate what you saw on TV immediately and getting attacked by wild Pokemon. And then of course there is the villain of the game has had it up to here with humans. He doesn't like society. He's the ultimate Sigma man. He's so done with where humanity has come, and it could be a culmination of what happened in the other games. The opening scene to hammer down this point some more in this game is a scene from Gold and Silver. They're talking about the Red Gyarados. Red Gyarados was literally scientists trying to manufacture fancier, more sellable Pokemon.
Oh, interesting. I did see that on the TV.
Exactly, and that was in a game. And so him being fed up with people trying to do stuff like that, he's fed up with people taking nature, ruining Pokemon, fighting all the time, and he wants to just destroy the universe. Why not? It's a fucking
Classic
RPG,
villain.
classic villain. And I like how it kind of comes through on the TV. At the end of the game, you get these TV reports you can watch, like, oh, there's storms flying over. And everything's boiled down through a TV lens. And I really like that. And of course, in Gen 5, you kind of get the opposite side of that story where the people who are so against the world changing, they want to keep everything natural, so against progress, are willing to destroy every bit of technology in order to maintain peace amongst people in Pokemon. But that was a foolish errand. You know, you have to have a balance, a black and a white in that game, very specifically being the yin and the yang. And I do have to appreciate this little subtle understory about nature and technology being at odds in the Pokemon world. And I never really noticed it when I was a kid, but looking back, like, it's very clear. It's not super upfront because it's for kids. If you fill the game with
right.
text, like a lot of RPGs try to do, like Secrets of Mana and stuff like that, where there are like buttloads of text. Mother is another game where they try to hammer home this like important message, but it's too wordy to come through. Pokemon just does it with gameplay. The fact that there are poisonous, grimy, smoggy Pokemon living around cities. There are Pokemon that have been manufactured, Mewtwo being completely created by humanity and being so strong. and then you right outside your home you just get like owls and you get like bats and you get squirrels and chipmunks, and then you get to the city and you get like monstrosities. I do really like that about Pokemon storytelling, and I don't know where that went. I don't know why they stopped doing like subtle commentary through their work. They just do like, oh, I want to play soccer. I'm playing in the soccer match. It's like, who cares? There's nothing to gain from that. They taped on this weird message in Sword and Shield about again very in your face, where the villain goes, I want there to be energy for years. Brought in this demon from another realm to bring electricity to society forever. And that doesn't have the same impact as like Team Rocket trying to make the perfect Pokemon, and then because they were kicked by the trainer in the first games, trying to find Pokemon and make them more sellable. And then there are nice themes like that, which are subtle and enough for a kid to come back to, like me, not knowing that when I was a kid and coming back and completely understanding it, going, oh, that probably taught me a little bit about like why I like animals, why I care for nature, why I enjoyed playing so much in nature was because of Pokemon. Like, but then I could come back and watch, Animal Planet. You know, I don't know.
That's all great points. I mean, I definitely think Pokemon definitely has themes. Definitely have evolved. I've definitely noticed themes. I do think that Pokemon tends to stay towards a generic side.
Yeah.
Like, I make fun of Alfredo all the time because of Kingdom Hearts, as you know.
Yes.
If Kingdom Hearts ain't one thing, it ain't generic. Like, that's for damn sure. That thing ain't generic at all.
Nope.
It is on the opposite spectrum. I think Pokemon is way too generic. And this game is very generic. Because when playing Shin Megami Tensei, I don't even feel like that's fair. It's not even fair to compare it to that. But I'll just compare it to something like Persona, which I think is more similar to Pokemon than Shin Megami, just because it's more personable, it's more characters, it's more of a friendly vibe to it. And I'm just like, I don't need Pokemon to do all this. I don't need to tell an overarching story. But I would like for there to be more of a story than what we have right now.
Right.
Where it literally is just go from town to town. I'll occasionally meet my rival who sucks. I'm about the gym leader. And then Team Galactic's going to be here for some reason. I'm going to fight them a bit. Maybe the head of Team Galactic's going to show up. Maybe he won't. All right, all good.
Alfredo, remind me real quick, because you're further in the game. Does Team Galactic take over the TV tower?
They don't. No.
Okay.
Not in this one.
Not in this one. In Gold and Silver, they take over the radio tower, broadcast their message. Team Rocket does.
Oh, okay.
But okay, I would argue that yes, they're simple. I would call it subtle without trying to be. They're not trying to be subtle. They just don't have they know
finesse.
how they don't have that finesse to like make it clearer. Like the story is very hard to pay attention to. When I noticed the connection between the TV show you're watching at the beginning and the ultimate reason why the villain wants to do what he's like, they thought this through. They really did put a good amount of thought into the motives of these characters. But it is lost in translation, I think, both literally and because it is a kid's game. And because they don't know how to do that, or they're being told, let's keep it less wordy.
And it also, but the problem is then it falls into the obvious anime trap of, they have motivations, but the villain says, so I'm just going to blow it up because this is anime.
But I'm not asking for this to be Full Metal Alchemist.
Sure.
I'm just asking for this to be at least on the same level as the anime. I feel like that is not an unfair request. Like, the anime is simple too. In terms of like comparing it to other anime, it's very simple. Very simple.
That's fair.
But it still has more than what these games provide.
That's fair, but for you guys, I don't know about you guys, but for me, as much as I'm bagging on Pokemon games and how much I say they suck, I am enjoying this game, but it's not for the story. I'm not paying attention to the story. I'm just enjoying the general, the routine of Pokemon catching, going to a gym, going through the motions. It's a nice game just to bring you back to that nostalgic place in the time when you were a kid and just catch some Pokemon. And I'm enjoying it. It's addictive because of that reason, not because of the story.
And that's
Yeah,
why
no, you're right. You're right
and
about that.
And that's why I argue on both your points that the simplest idea I've had, which was just make the gyms team capped. You can only have a certain number of Pokemon on your team. It's a simple solution. Would it alter your gameplay, Alfredo? Would it change the way you play the game all that much?
I feel like no,
Exactly.
but I feel like that would be a good change. But I also feel like they would need something additional. Like you can't just use the same Pokemon for the entire battle. Like once you use one, you have to switch or something like that to prevent me from just kicking their team with just one Pokemon, which is what I already do.
Sure. Like just a level modifier. Like the gym leader's team is
something
level
like that.
modified to yours. Something
Mhm.
very simple, but I think not only would that just change the game enough to like not interrupt gameplay for people who like doing what you're doing, which is just casually going through catching Pokemon, doing all that, but I also think it adds to what Thomas you're talking about you want, which is a little bit more anime, a little bit more of a thing, a little bit more feeling like you're doing something that you could do in a TV show. Which I think this would make it just a little bit more like a gym battle in the show, a challenge. You've got your friends, you're training with these Pokemon, and it's an event. You have to choose something.
Like what I'm saying is, because I'll give you a perfect example. So I watched the anime a couple days ago. Just it's on Pokemon TV's on the Switch. And, it's a great app. I
Is
love
it
it.
Journeys? Pokemon Journeys?
No, I'm actually talking about the original Pokemon.
Ah, got you.
So I was watching the
Pokemon
original.
Journeys is pretty good. I've
I
been
haven't
watching
seen
it.
it. I might
Pretty good.
watch it. I might watch
Got
it.
Score Bunny.
All right, I'm gonna have to watch that because I love just the aesthetic of the original Pokemon anime.
Yeah.
And I was watching the episode where they were seeing Selena. I believe her name is. That's the psychic type.
Sabrina.
Sabrina, thank you. So they were going to see Sabrina. They enter the gym and there's nobody in the gym, and they're trying to figure, except for this little girl. And so they're with the little girl and everything. The little girl's getting attacked by the Pokemon. It comes to find out the little girl is actually the puppet of Sabrina. And they get trapped into a psychic trance where they're like turned
Okay, that's
into like
cool.
little people and they're about to get smashed by Sabrina. And it's like, I'm not asking for this game to do anything that much, but
that'd be
give
cool.
me something.
in
Give me something like
Yeah.
those little moments.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you have to escape somewhere. You got to battle some stuff to get to the gym. That would make it.
Like
Yeah.
instead of the same where it's just literally, all right, we're headed to here. It's gonna be
Right.
some sort of puzzle, and I have to fight these 4 Pokemon trainers before I get to the make it a little more interesting. Just
I definitely
a little bit.
I second it because, as I mentioned, Pokemon Journey is pretty good. I'm watching it. They had a dance battle the other day. Was pretty lit. Anyway, they have this. You don't have to do something that not even complex, even though that's not complex. But give us something within the story.
Other games
of the
could
Pokemon
pull that exact scenario off.
Yeah, I mean, the anime does have really good stories. Even like the one I was watching on Pokemon Journeys, it was about a Gengar who was like, there was a ghost haunting the house. And it turned out a Gengar was the one haunting the house. But then they went into his backstory of how he used to have a trainer who basically like treated him really badly. And he basically turned out to say that he basically wanted to safeguard the house because of he was waiting for his one true master to come home, which never did, so he kept protecting it.
Right.
Like, give us, like, these stories are there in the Pokemon anime, just bring some of them over to the games.
What I'm hoping is we're gonna get a bunch of this in our Arceus as far as side quests.
I
would hope that that game has side quests of that variety.
It just looks so empty. I don't know. I'm scared.
I've seen emptier games. Like let's think, yes. Like let's go back in JRPG past. Like I've played a lot of JRPGs that are very barren, but still had a lot of content.
Yeah, and
so I'm hoping this goes with that.
Something I'm liking about Arceus already is they are building on Pokemon's lore. They've built up this long lore. Let's play with that. There's a bunch of stuff you can do. They have a character in Arceus who is the like great grandfather of a gym leader who's of little significance in Black and White. He's a cowboy. He's like a cowboy gym leader. And they have like his great grandfather, and I'm like, they're doing backstory on like this weird character. There must be a reason for it. They chose him for a reason. This guy was like an oil tycoon in the Unova region, and I'm like, okay, there must be something about that. The way they're tying in the Pokemon that you catch to do all these like external moves, like there's something that they're gonna do. I'm really looking forward to those games, especially after playing these. These were such a smart game to release right before them because you get all those what the games were originally, what the story was originally, and then you can go back and see a little bit more in the past. And I'm very excited to see where they're going with this game. Because just map wise, the differences in the map of Arceus and this one are pretty obvious. Like they're doing some weird things with some areas where legendary Pokemon hang out. They're doing some weird things about like these Pokemon challenges where you get like the red-eyed Pokemon that are fighting you. Like there's gonna be something neat story-wise in this game. Since I'm disappointed like everyone. Yes, this isn't going to be Breath of the Wild where it's just open world, but it is going to be open world in areas that you can add on to, like Dragon Quest or something like that. Where it kind of opens up as the game progresses. You go to an area and like the leader of that area gives you missions to accomplish. And I'm like, you have to go out and find people, find items, find Pokemon, fight Pokemon, and then come back and you complete that, and then they unlock a certain area. I don't even know how they unlock yet, but like maybe you have to find a secret item to unlock secret areas. I'm very hopeful that this unlocking system in Pokemon is utilized correctly, and that they've got these cool anime stories behind it because, you know, they're putting so many characters in it, they've got to have some oomph to them.
And Game Freak is developing Arceus, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what makes me scared.
They have been for a while. Yeah.
The Sword and Shield wrapped up, right?
I think
Not
before,
even the DLC. Not even the DLC.
They have two teams, and again, so we were talking before the podcast started that.
God, how many people are on these teams?
Not many.
If they're only 140, how many people are on these teams? Like 143
people? 143 people work at Game Freak.
Yeah, and I'm like, how many people have to be on the teams?
And they split into two, maybe three teams, depending on like the scheduling.
But they also is this including the people who handle the merchandising and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. The people.
Oh like, my god, we're talking like 30 people per team.
Crazy.
Probably. That's such a small amount. That is okay. That made me more
Arceus. That's I can see it for the regular ones.
Just for example, like the card game Magic the Gathering, also made by Wizards of the Coast, like Pokemon, and probably Pokemon, the card game, have teams that are probably roughly the same size as Game Freak's game production teams, and these people are just making cardboard mechanics to play well with each other, which is a lot more. I mean, there's some complexity there, but it's a lot easier than programming a game. So Game Freak has a serious staffing problem, but it maximizes profits. It maximizes profits. Having that few people working for you, well, we're gonna rake in a buttload with Pikachu plushes and slippers that look like Charmander. And we're going to sell a lot of games too. And we don't have to employ anyone.
It just, to me, doesn't make sense. Like, it just, like, I understand we have to make money on this, but it's going to make money. It's not like we're talking about a struggling franchise. Like, if we're a struggling franchise, I'm like, yeah, reducing the amount of people makes sense. That makes sense. But this is one of the most successful franchises we have in video games.
Yeah. When they there's a lot of ideas at Game Freak, a lot of really talented people, but a lot of stuff hits the cutting room floor that we never see. The reason I say that is when Sun and Moon were coming out, the announcement trailer, showed screenshots of pictures from inside Game Freak Studios, and there were a lot of ideas, a lot of really cool ideas about how to make this game more like Hawaii, that never ever came to fruition. A lot of art, a lot of art, just and that. I hope that for something so big as Arceus, which is a whole new stepping stone for Pokemon, I hope they took the best of the team and put them there. But I'm with you, Alfredo. I'm hesitant. I'm real hesitant.
Scared. I'm real scared.
It's coming out. It's soon. It's December. We've got a month. We got a month and 20 days before that game comes out.
I'm excited.
That's a crazy thought. I didn't even think when you put it in that perspective, it's like, ooh, that's not long at all.
Honestly, I'm thinking my prediction right now for Arceus. I'm thinking, I don't know, 5 or 6 out of 10.
Oh my god!
My prediction. I don't think it's gonna do well.
Tell us how you really feel.
I hope they prove me wrong.
I do too. I really do too.
5 out of 10. That would.
What do you think? What do you think it's gonna be?
I can see 7 out of 10.
I can see 7.
5 out of 10. That means the game failed.
Okay, I'm gonna compare Pokemon to another behemoth in the money making IPs, Star Wars. I don't want to get into a whole can of potatoes here, but
Ben's not here. We're good.
That's fair. Episode 8 tried something different, and I like episode 8 for that reason. But do you know who they upset the most?
The Star Wars fans.
Star Wars fans.
And truth be told, I'm a Star Wars fan. I liked episode 8. So it was a mixed bag to say the least.
But Thomas, are you one of those fucking rat people who stands in Disney World for hours just so you can cheer to see a person who looks like Rey walk up on stage?
That's a fair question.
You got to rat people?
And they're standing there with their lightsabers. They're dressed like fucking Boba Fett or whatever.
I have wanted to go to Disney World so I can make my lightsaber, but no. I have not sat in a hall, a concert hall. Let's try to. That's hilarious.
There is big franchises with like Pokemon and Star Wars, and big franchises like that have tiers of like people who purchase stuff, and the whales, as they're called in the industry, the people who just buy big amounts of stuff, are a huge majority for merchandised IPs like Pokemon and Star Wars. It is all about the merchandising. And my concern about Arceus is not that it's going to be a shit game. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm gonna argue that Alfredo's point it's gonna be a 5. I'm gonna argue it's an 8.5 out of 10.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say it's good.
Ooh, I don't know.
Here's my concern. I think if it is a good game, it's going to piss off those fans. Because it's not going to be the Pokemon they know.
Why would it piss them off? It's not called. It's not a mainline Pokemon game.
Because this is already the second highest selling Pokemon, or a second highest selling game in Japan on the Switch.
What game?
The first one?
The first one is Breath of the Wild.
Wait, so Brilliant Diamond is?
I mean, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are already the second highest selling Switch games in Japan. I'm pretty sure. Check my numbers on that. But from
you sure not Animal Crossing?
I'm pretty sure it's these. These games are selling like hotcakes.
I can imagine, but more than Animal Crossing.
Fact check.
Yeah, fact check that.
Fact check 1212. Hold on.
I mean, I would believe it because it is Pokemon, so I would believe it. I would be shocked that a Pokemon game isn't higher than Breath of the Wild, though, in the first place.
Because Breath of the Wild is a great game.
Yeah, but Pokemon is Pokemon, so I would think that actually Pokemon Sword and Shield would be number one.
Sword and Shield were very high up, but this is something people know. This is a known entity, like the reason Thomas bought it in the first place. This is a known entity. He knew what he was getting into, and I think that sells better. And the negative press around Sword and Shield was so high. Those people who go out like
biggest launch.
Okay, biggest launch.
Second biggest launch.
What's the highest?
And it wasn't Breath of the Wild. It was Animal Crossing. Is number.
It was Animal Crossing. That makes sense. But I mean, that's a pretty
better than Breath of the Wild, though, which is kind of crazy. Which Breath of the Wild was the only game of consequence that came out on the Switch.
Yeah, so there's a lot more Switches out now.
Super impressive.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. But that's super impressive. It was able to accomplish that. For sure.
I mean, And the people who are really into it, those people who tattoo Pikachu onto their nipples, are the people that
Excuse
are the.
me.
What an image you just gave me. Oh my
like,
god.
one of the cheeks.
Oh my god.
One of the cheeks is the nipple.
Oh my god.
Those people I see getting put off by a change in structure. So I think there's going to be, if it goes more Alfredo's route, where it's like a 5 out of 10, I feel like they're going to have gotten cold feet and swung back to the formula. They're going to be like, okay, tip back the formula way.
No, okay.
Let me speak in lyricism.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Wait a second. Let me modify my thing, because I think it will be actually a 5, but I think they won't do that to Nintendo, so I think it might be like a 6 instead. So I'll say a 6.
Let me bring some
it's gonna be
lyricism in to all the people you're talking about, Taylor.
Yeah.
So Jay-Z said this line in one of his songs, saying, "If you want my old shit, buy my old album." There are so many Pokemon games out at this stage that do what these fans want to do.
Yeah.
If we're not going to allow Pokemon to evolve, no pun intended, if we're not going to let Pokemon evolve into a better RPG, a RPG better fitted for 2021 and 2022 going forward.
Yeah.
Because it sucks to say, and I don't like saying this, turn-based RPGs are a dying breed.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to do a
Yes,
turn-based
I love them.
RPG, it has to do something different.
Okay, that's fair.
Persona is not just a turn-based RPG. In fact, the turn-based aspects of it are my least favorite parts, which I still love.
Yeah.
But it's my least favorite parts of that game. It's the everything else of Persona.
Yeah.
Shin Megami Tensei, I like the turn-based a little better in that, but it's also just the collecting of everything in the world we're in and just the different layers of gameplay we have, as far as instead of just catching Pokemon, we're negotiating with demons.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
it's a different level of, it's doing something different.
Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler. They all
Right.
have,
These
like,
games
something
are-
innovative about them.
Exactly. You got it. Like, they're all turn-based, but they have different ideas in them. And Pokemon has just skated off this same formula for the past 20 years.
Because it's cute. It's well designed. It's
Mhm.
manufactured just to hit that little button in your brain that goes, "Oh, I like that. It's cute."
Now, as a
I will
fan
tattoo it
of
on my
Pokemon,
nipple.
as fans of Pokemon, I have to ask these people. I don't think it's you, Taylor. But I have to ask these people, if you are afraid of Pokemon doing something different, I guess my only question is why? What do we have to lose?
Because
We might get an episode 8. They're afraid of the episode 8 of Star Wars. You know,
I'd
get that
argue
of
we've already
Pokemon.
gotten the episode 8, which was Sword and Shield.
It could
That
be
game
worse.
was
In a
mixed
way,
to say the
worse.
least. That game had mixed reception to say the least.
but it stuck pretty true to the formula. It was just like
Mhm.
the nice thing about the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon games is that they tried to change the formula a little bit without doing it too much. And Sword and Shield followed suit with the soccer game theme.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been like that sort of fan. Like that Pokeball you see behind me, I found in the trash. Like, I'm not gonna go out and buy merch. I don't buy merch. I buy the games because I like playing video games. But I know plenty of people who only play Pokemon to buy Pikachu stuffed animals, and they bother me. Those people bother me.
Well, why are you buying the Pokemon game if you're just gonna buy the stuffed animals though?
And-
Like,
Well, the reason, going back to your original question, I think the reason people would be afraid of Pokemon changing is because a lot of the market is people who grew up with Pokemon, and Pokemon is hedging their bets on nostalgia. And nostalgia does weird things to the brain. It does weird drug-like things to the brain, and if you can't play a Pokemon game and go, "Oh, this brings me back to when I was playing Red and Blue," or Gold and Silver, or, I mean, there are people now like my sister who started their Pokemon games with Diamond and Pearl and are going back playing it specifically because it taps into that nostalgia bit of their brain where they're like, "Oh yes, I'm getting that little rush."
Yeah.
If the new game doesn't do that, and I don't think I don't think games have to tap on nostalgia. I mean, Zelda barely taps on nostalgia. It's always innovating. Every game's different.
There's
is
no
great.
similar Zelda game. Like they all are different.
I would argue otherwise, but continue.
I mean, that's
Whoa, what do
Conversation for
you
another day.
mean?
Yeah,
Conversation for another day.
No, what I'm saying is, but are they? Would you say they're similar? Like Pokemon games are similar, Alfredo?
Yes, I would.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
we're not gonna have this conversation right now.
Oh, whoa! That's got Breath of the Wild is similar to Wind Waker.
and Wind Waker's similar to Skyward Sword.
Not familiar with Wind Waker, but
Played
Ocarina-
Wind Waker?
The only ones that are similar, Alfredo,
Yeah.
I would feel
You take
is
that shield
Ocarina
off
of
the
Time
wall
and
right
Twilight
now.
Princess.
hey,
Those
we're
are the
not
two.
gonna get into this right now. We'll have a separate discussion. But yeah,
I'm not-
I
That was a bomb drop, though. Like,
I refuse to talk to you now that you've never played Wind Waker.
because I think they're all the same. That's why.
no, but my thing.
In the
Here's my thing with. Because Taylor had a good point in that Zelda's always innovating. Like I know you think that they all are the same, but
okay.
trust me, they're not.
and same
They're
thing
not
with
like they're
Mario.
all different. They have similar things in them, but they're all different in their own way.
If you say so, sure.
Again, not to make a pun, but Mario in the same way as Zelda, the two big franchises for Nintendo other than Pokemon are always innovating in gameplay.
I think Mario less so, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely more than Pokemon.
I disagree. I think Mario as a 3D platform specifically is one of the most constantly evolving, constantly innovative games out there.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Seeing where they've come from 3D World to Odyssey is you can Odyssey is a love letter to Mario, obviously, where every little mechanic, every little trick you can do with Mario is there in some form, and it's beautiful.
Amazing game.
Never finished
I
it.
think Zelda does the same thing, where it takes all those things from the original small Game Boy or NES games and builds upon them constantly. They're always growing more. Yes, they're based on the same, like, ultimately the core of a Mario game and the core of a Zelda game are always going to be the same. Pokemon should be the same way, but Pokemon doesn't innovate. It just adds new Pokemon.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's why where you say it's the same as Zelda, it's like I get you, Alfredo, in that they are fundamentally the same game, but Pokemon literally just feels like a reskin every year. Now, this year just so happened I never had gotten this generation before. I like that chibi style. It's a small palate cleanser type game, so it spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not under the illusion that this is a different game than the ones that I played on the Game Boy and the ones I played on my Game Boy Advance. You know, I know this is pretty much the same game. With a Zelda game, I know that Breath of the Wild is a completely different Zelda game than Skyward Sword.
I'm excited.
That's the difference. And I hope the Arceus is that next level.
I am excited to come back and have the same conversation again after Arceus. I really am. And
Yeah, me too.
I am too.
We're gonna have some good thoughts on this.
I'm even more excited to come back and, one day tell you guys my thoughts on both Mario and Zelda, but one day.
I don't think we're ready, man.
We're not ready,
Mario,
but
we
one
need to do
day.
a Mario episode for sure, because Mario is just the video game.
For sure, for sure. Well, when we do that, we will let you know. I want to thank everybody for watching or listening to the Dukes of Gaming podcast. Again, you can listen to us on your favorite podcast service or watch us on YouTube. Leave a like, a review, a comment, anything to help support the show. You can even email us at therealdukesofgaming@gmail.com if you want to have your question read live on air or just want to, just send a comment to us. All of our socials in the description. We'll be coming at you next week with some more hot takes. We had a special episode this week. Next week, we'll probably get back to our similar formula, but thank you for being patient with us doing something a little different today because we had to talk about Pokemon. Hit the bell as well to get notifications of when we release our latest videos on YouTube. And if that is all, I've had a great time this week. Thank you all for joining me this week as we close out. I bid thee farewell.